in our first inaugural session, you must have all remembered Honorable Justice Koryab Joseph saying, mediation is more successful than arbitration, sharing his success stories of mediation in arbitration. I think the success of nation depends on the effective judiciary, but unfortunately today our judiciary is stressed with pending cases. Directive Principle of State Policy Article 31A of Indian Constitution speaks that justice shall not be denied to any person on the basis of any inability, whether physical or monetary. It has been stated by Abraham Lincoln, and I quote, because of their skill and experience, advocates have superior opportunities to do good. And I introduce to all to our today's speaker, as all of you know and those who don't, Senior Advocate Mr. Rajiv Datta hails from Faculty of Law, Delhi University, with a Bachelor in Law degree in the year 1975. He got enrolled with Delhi Bar Council. He has worked as Junior Advocate with Sri D.P. Singh, Barrister Senior Advocate in the Supreme Court of India, and worked in the chambers of Sri N.S. Kakar, Senior Advocate and former Solicitor General of India, and former Minister of Law and Company Affairs, Union of India. In the year 1981, he qualified as an advocate on record of Supreme Court of India. 15 years later, he got elected as Vice President of the Supreme Court Bar Association. Thereafter, in the year 2000, he was appointed as Standing Counsel for the State of Punjab in the Supreme Court of India. On 14th of November 2000, he got designated as Senior Advocate by Supreme Court of India. In the year 2012, he became member of the International Bar Association Mediation Committee for drafting International Bar Association rules for investor state mediation. In the year 2014, he got appointed as country representative of the International Bar Association IBA Mediation Committee for India. Therefore, he got appointed to panel of arbitrators of ASSOCHAM International Council of Alternate Dispute Resolution, New Delhi, and appointed to the panel of arbitrators of Singapore International Arbitration Center, SIAC, and also got appointed to the panel of arbitrators of Pacific International Arbitration Center, arbitrators of Delhi International Arbitration Center, arbitrators of Indian Council of Arbitration. Recently, in the month of April 2020, he admitted as Fellow of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, CIAB London. And the list of his luminary goes on. It is a pleasure to have you, sir. I request you to please share your views and experience on today's topic with us.
Thank you, Ayush. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful to you for having invited me for this session.
It's a pleasure to have
you. And at the very outset, I think Sanpreet has also joined us. Good morning, Sanpreet. At the very outset, I think since you've already mentioned the topic is importance and role of lawyers in mediation. So before I touch upon this topic, I think it is important for me to state a few of the things which are very important as far as the ADR is concerned, especially with the context to India, because the topic also is importance of mediation. Now, I think most of the persons who are viewing us are students, probably students of law, or maybe also doing some other subject, but I'm very happy to be here and address you. And probably by now, I'm sure since we already had 6 effective, this is the 6th effective session, but in total we've had 7 sessions. I think all of you, if you have, most of you may have attended these sessions, and I'm sure you must be filled in, and we must be brimming with mediation as a ADR, alternate dispute resolution mechanism. So a lot of things have been said with regard to how it works, what is mediation, etc., etc. But I must add a little bit so that the importance of mediation at present is brought out. I think it was General de Gaulle, who was master of spoken words, when he said, one must not confuse the light breezes of fashion with the winds of history. Now, it is absolutely true that the winds of history for a very long time have been in favor of arbitration. But what has happened in the past few years is about the practice of mediation. And we all know that the winds are changing. The winds are changing. I also wish to state at the outset that lawyers are not altogether blameless for judicialization, if I may put it, of arbitration. And there was a feeling, and there was a very common feeling as far as mediation is concerned, that it is better to keep lawyers far away, or further you keep a lawyer from settlement, it will be in the interest of settlement, because lawyers were considered to be an impediment in settlement, because they were more akin to and used to the adversarial system. But now slowly and steadily, I think as I told you earlier, that the winds have changed, and we find that lawyers are now fully appreciating their roles in mediation, and also are encouraged by courts to do mediation. I must at this juncture mention a little about mediation, when and how it got its importance. See, it is not as if mediation has not been there, but it is in various forms. It was earlier there in India. But I think in December 1993, the commercial courts in England began to encourage the ADR system. And then this was followed up by a practice direction in the year 1995 by the commercial courts, which was issued by Lord Chief Justice and Vice Chancellor. So what they did was that they introduced what is known as a practice direction, and every solicitor had to sign a checklist where there were at least 3 questions which he had to answer. The first was, have you discussed with your client the possibility of resolving this dispute by ADR? So this was the first note that a lawyer, a solicitor, before he files his case, he had to answer. The second was, might some form of ADR procedure to assist and resolve or narrow the issue in this case is possible? And the third was, have you or your client explored the possibility of resolving this dispute or some issues in this dispute by ADR? Now this, after 1993-94, subsequently, this was followed by another practice direction, this time by the Court of Appeal, to identify. Now this is the most important thing. What they did was that let us sit down and identify cases which might be susceptible to settlement by mediation. Therefore, the practice direction recognized the professional duty of solicitors, and I must add at this juncture, the most important thing was the willingness of the courts to accept the ADR process and to inculcate it in the very system of the judicial decision making process. Now in India, we know that after the British left, we had been following and we continue to follow the Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence, common law, which actually abhorred, and I use the word abhorred, resolution of disputes outside his or her majesty's courts. Now, that is one of the biggest impediments which was there at that time, And therefore, if you even now, I want to bring out this at this juncture. If you look at the Contract Act, which was more than 100 years ago, I think the Contract Act, the Indian Contract Act is 1872. If you look at section 28, it is very interesting, because it even today says that if any agreement is tried to be settled, or dispute is tried to be settled outside the statutory exception of arbitration, it will be void. Now just imagine, even today when we are exploring that mediation and ADR processes should take a lead to resolve disputes. Of course, not all disputes, but the disputes which can be resolved by mediation. Arbitration was brought in the Contract Act under section 28 only as an exception, not as an alternative. And this exists even today. So I think there is still a lot of dust which has to be dusted off the table. Subsequently, you know, we have now presently the 1996 Act, which is the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, and Part 3 deals with conciliation. Of course, what happened in India, which is very relevant, and the importance of section 89 of the Code of Civil Procedure. Now, this was brought in the year 1999. Mediation, let me also make it very clear, is not about law. Of course, there is a dispute which is legally pending, etc. But mediation is not about law. Mediation is about negotiation. Now, every negotiation may not be mediation, but every mediation has to be a negotiation. Now, after the introduction of section 89 in the Code of Civil Procedure, what we faced, I think you are all aware of, because you must have been listening to the previous lectures, but I think it is important for me to lay down a few foundations. You are all aware of the first Salem Advocates Bar Association case, which is 2003, 1 Supreme Court cases, page 44. Now, this is the beginning when it was recognized that the art, which recognized the art of bringing two parties together, and the challenge to the constitutional validity of section 89 was upheld by the Supreme Court. But it didn't stop there. Supreme Court directed that the rules should be framed, etc., etc. Once the rules were framed, came the second Salem Advocates Bar Association case. Now, this is the case which the courts absolutely made it clear that they are supportive of the ADR system and of mediation. But what happened thereafter, in the year 2010, the Supreme Court, in the case of Afcons Infrastructure Limited, 2010, 8 SCC 24, brought in a big setback. And what is the setback? The setback was that the Supreme Court held that parties cannot be compelled to go for arbitration, or cannot be compelled at all. It has to be with their consent. Now, having made that clear, I think we are now standing at a juncture where mediation, one of the arms of ADR, stands on its own. We all know that so far we have not been able to come out with a statute. We have not been able to frame a uniform mediation law. Therefore, those things will continue, which are continuing at the moment, with efforts of everyone, including efforts of your bar association. What is very important is that mediation has been accepted, and we are aware of the fact, and I think it was brought out very well by Justice Kaul, Sanjay Kishan Kaul, in one of the first webinars which we had, that was by the Supreme Court Bar Association along with your association also, where he brought out that the legislation is now almost penned down, the draft is ready, and he also made several comments which brought to our notice as to what was the thinking in the mind of the drafting committee. So that from that angle, that webinar was a very successful webinar. Now, coming back to mediation and the process of mediation, you must have already learnt a lot about its structure, etc. But according to me, mediation is a more human approach to resolving the disputes. Now, the point is, why is it human? Because it involves the parties. The parties themselves are given an opportunity to decide. One of the and when we talk of mediation, it does not apply strict rules or principles of we can safely say which are statutory law, if the parties agree to arrive at a settlement. Now, very important fact is that mediation is imaginative. You can use your imagination, as Justice Kaul had put it that day. Think out of the box. You can try to resolve the dispute which is before you by thinking out of the box. You may come out with a solution which solution could never be imagined. So therefore, the process is imaginative. Now, one of the most important things about and how it is brought out, you must be aware of that the example which even Justice Kurian Joseph gave about the orange, the famous, I call it the homely example, that two parties were fighting over an orange, and it turned out that the mediator, and very interestingly, this solution of how to divide that orange between the two parties was offered by one Richard Hill. He was a very competent lawyer in Switzerland, and you all know what happened. The one of the parties was interested in the peel because he wanted to make some these fragrances out of it. And when we have these fragrances, we say, oh, this is very fruity, etc. And the other one was very much interested only in the pulp. So they divided the orange. Now, this could never have been done if it was left to the courts. The first thing that goes into the mind is cut the orange into half, give half to both. But again, half of that orange would have been useless to both the parties. Now, therefore, one thing you have to keep in mind, and you must understand, that mediation is an imaginative process. You have to use your imagination, of course, by applying it to the facts of the dispute before you. Now, there are various methods by which we must make mediation more popular. According to me, there are various methods which are being employed in the recent few years. But I think, in my thinking, one of the things that we should do, of course, we are thinking of, like in the Commercial Courts Act, we make it compulsory now that you must try out mediation first. But in my mind, there is a solution which is not yet accepted by all. But according to me, if you want to make mediation more popular, then you must make litigation and arbitration more expensive. Make it more costly. Because any person in India can go and file a suit for injunction at a very low cost. I mean, sometimes injunctions become necessary also, but that's not the case. The case is that litigation at some levels in India, I'm not talking of, don't think all the time of cases. You know, this is also a very interesting thing that I have found in my country. When I talk to people every day, they are all talking about Supreme Court. Everybody is only talking about Supreme Court because of the media, etc. We have high courts, which are the highest jurisdiction in every state. But the most important courts, according to me, are the courts where the disputes origin. That is the courts of civil judge and the magistrates courts. Now, most important, according to me, is that they are the ones where the maximum number of people of this country go for their settlement of disputes, for adjudication of their disputes. It is a very encouraging thing that in the past few years, government has made several infrastructure changes. At least in Delhi, we know. I have been to some district courts. Their infrastructure has improved. And I must congratulate the judges who have been appointed. Very young, enthusiastic judges. And whenever now a dispute comes to my notice or is brought to my notice or somebody seeks my opinion on it, I always tell them that, everybody comes and says that let's file a case in the High Court. Let's start at the High Court. Or as our Chief Justice mentioned the other day, Supreme Court has become an omnibus. Every dispute, every wrong in the society is straight away filed in the Supreme Court, which is very wrong. Which is, of course, I think it is also the interference by the Supreme Court for a very long time that encourages people to do that. But that is another matter. They have to sort it out themselves. And I think the court is doing that. But the fact of the matter is that it is the most important limb of the adjudicatory system in our country is the lower courts. And now they are becoming better. I hope the same principle, the same method is being followed in other states, because I have been to some of the states. In fact, I went to Haryana once to argue a case in a district court before a additional district judge, and it was the whole experience of mine. I cannot narrate. It was so pathetic. It was how the lawyers were working in that atmosphere. So it is a very challenging thing for the government, but the government will have to take care of it. Now, it is also very important that today mediation has been accepted not only in cases which are of personal nature. For example, whenever we earlier thought of mediation, initially I did think like that it is only between husband and wife disputes or disputes between two brothers and a father. But no, what is the most encouraging thing that has come about is that the commercial world has accepted mediation very, very strongly. Instead of filing cases, in fact, I know that several banks, no need to name any, they are now resorting to mediation and solving all kinds of disputes which are arising. And the first step to resolve a dispute, in fact, it has become a fad in the commercial world that you must first resort to mediation and you must try and resolve through mediation. Now, having said all this thing about the importance of mediation, let me now dive deep into what the lawyers, because our topic today is the importance of mediation and the role of lawyers in mediation. So what I am going to do is, very slowly, I am going to give you certain tips, which tips are tips for lawyers. Because I already said in the beginning that earlier it was thought that a lawyer is the biggest hurdle in settling the disputes. I said that, and I know how mediation started in this country and how it was opposed, etc. Now all that is over. It's all history. Lawyers, according to me, are one of the most important facets in deciding or in doing mediation, whether as lawyers or as mediators. So I will like to give you some tips very slowly. First is, it is a new method. Mediation is a new method But please make a note, it is a growing method. It is not that you are getting into something which is neither new nor growing. You know, when I became a lawyer for many years in my profession, I had not heard the word mediation, except the word mediation probably from conciliation, it was treated as the same. It existed in the Industrial Disputes Act. And what was the conciliation there? There was a conciliatory officer, some union disputes, some disputes of employees, and they were given some kind of an alternative. You take this and leave this. That's it. That's the conciliation that used to happen. But we never heard of mediation. And what drove me to mediation, I'm giving you the tips now, I know, but I must inform you, a lawyer of more than 40 years, I must tell you with my experience, because what we are sharing here with you is our experience. When I came across, see, the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996, we brought in line with, after 1990 globalization, we were all at sea in the international world, commercial world, because everybody said, if I go to India and I invest in India, and if there is a dispute, it will be keep pending for 25 years in the courts. So what to do? We amended our Arbitration Act, and we shed a lot of flack. But again, the 1996 Act was challenged at every stage. Things then brought to to 2015 amendments, then 2018. Now there are certain more amendments which are in line. So the fact is that it is a growing phenomena right before our eyes. All the laws that I used to argue in the courts, whether High Court or Supreme Court, were all established. Like I told you, Contract Act 1872. Similarly, all other acts, Evidence Act, etc. Macaulay, he drafted the he drafted the Indian Penal Code, etc. and Evidence Act, etc. So the point is something which is growing in front of my eyes, to which I can contribute, to which I can offer my thinking, and which is developing in front of my eyes. I think it's an opportune moment for all of us to be a part of it. So the first thing is, it's a new method, fastest growing. So be a part of it. This is a tip which I am giving all the lawyers. Then the second one is finding solution to disputes that are workable and practical, which are practical. Working solution to cases or disputes which are practical. Then it is speedy. The next is, it is less expensive. On this, there is something I have to say, that for a long time in India, we made it very popular, where I think lawyers were not charging anything as mediators. In various mediation centers, it was a pro bono exercise. And I think that is one small step back, because I think lawyers who go through the mediation process, it's not an easy process. All of you know by now, it's not an easy process at all. They must be compensated. So, and not only the mediators, even the lawyers who encourage their clients to settle their disputes by mediation, they must also get proper fees. Now that is another thing. So it is speedy, it is less expensive, and most important, it respects all relationships. It is very important, because you know, there is when you go to adjudicatory process, nobody is involving with the persons who are involved. It is like a paper exercise. This is the law, this is your case, this is your judgment, go home. That's it. And if you don't implement it, police will come and implement it for you. Now come on, how that works and how mediation works. It respects relationships. If it is a matter, even in a commercial matter, if there are relationships, a big company may be buying things from a small company, and they want to continue to do that. Even after this mediation, their dispute is settled by mediation, they will continue the relationship. That is the most important thing. Then next, I have already said this, but I think clients will come and agree for mediation once we inform them about the advantages of mediation. Now, this is where I think a lot of exercise has to be done. I think many cases, like in under Section 89, when they come up before the court, the judge is the one who suggests, why don't you go for mediation? It is the duty of the lawyers, when they have cases which are genuinely, which can be settled, and they know what is the advantage that will come to their clients, the clients will then come for mediation. Now no clients are going to study the process of ADR or how the adjudicated process. When he has a problem, he comes to a lawyer, and when a lawyer will analyze that, he will suggest to him that the better way is that we go for mediation. We can file an application in the court even before the court makes up its mind. We know how burdened the courts are. So this is one more thing, that we must point out the advantages. The lawyers must point out the advantages of mediation to their clients. Next, one of the most important thing is, and that is also I have spoken about it, is that large corporations worldwide are now enthusiastic users of mediation. So it has become popular that way also. Now we people have this in our psyche. Is it being done by others, or am I the only one who's doing it? Why should I do it? And then there is this feeling amongst the citizens in this country, and this has come from the British Raj, that they must have a decree or a judgment with they think very soon this is going to be remedied. The courts have remedied it in their own way. Once a settlement is put before the court, they convert it into a degree under the law. They say this is now a consent degree. But I think soon we will have legislation which will recognize this. Then the next point that I want to make to all the lawyers, I hope you are appreciating what I am saying, because these are points. I am not going to be big lecture on this, but these are small points which are very necessary for lawyers. Now, very interestingly, mediation adds a new dimension to the practice of law. And I can tell you this today. I am a lawyer for more than 40 years, and I became a mediator. I even went through the training. In fact, when we had the training last year in Supreme Court in the month of June, I think there were only about 4 senior advocates who went. In fact, our judges were very happy. They encouraged us that if you want the bar to go and take this training, seniors must come forward. So we said, yes, why not? And we all know law is a learning process. Every day we learn. So what's the harm? We went there, we had training of 40 hours. And let me tell you, the skill, it is very well explained by Justice Kurian Joseph in the opening session. What he said, and the example, you all are aware of it. He said, anybody can come on, can write a book or come on a virtual platform and teach you how to swim. But actually, a person will become a swimmer only when he goes into the pool. So, therefore, mediation is about learning skills on paper, but you will only become a mediator once you face the problems. At this juncture, I must tell you, I was made a mediator in Supreme Court in a very old dispute pending between a builder and a landowner. Very big parties, very huge dispute. I started my mediation, and after some time, the parties were not joining in, only the lawyers were coming. And both the lawyers were doing what lawyers are best at. They were arguing their own case. So I had to stop the mediation. I said, I will not continue with you. I want the parties to be here. And the most important thing about mediation, you must have learned, whoever is participating in mediation, he must have the authority to enter into a settlement. So I asked them, give me your authority. They did not have it. And then, you know, I was very keen because this was my first mediation offered to me by the Supreme Court. I must try and resolve this dispute. Then I contacted the parties. They said the lawyers have not even informed us what is going on. They are saying, yes, there's mediation, we'll handle it, don't worry. So this is something we have to keep in mind. And then we must admit that mediation adds a new dimension to the law practice. Now, next, which is very important according to me, is it is more of an opportunity than a threat. Please understand. When you go to the court, there is a psychological feeling in the mind. I might lose, I might win. So there is a threat. It only offers an opportunity. And that opportunity is neither a threat nor something which will dampen your spirit. You say, yes, I will go through it. If it is good, if it is helping my life, it depends on the facts of each case, then I will go through it. Now, I want to make one point very according to me, are lawyers. Very important. Why? The cases, A, they involve law, and lawyers have the skill of analyzing law, and they have the skill of persuasion. Now, a lawyer having skill of persuasion is something very, very unique weapon that a lawyer has. See, a chartered accountant can also read law. A company secretary can read law and say, this is how the form is to be filed. This is how accounts have to be submitted. This is how your income tax return has to be filed. No difficulty. But when it comes to a dispute, to analyze the law relating to that dispute and to persuade that why this law should be interpreted in this manner is only a skill which a lawyer possesses. So therefore it is very important. Next, lawyers also represent clients in mediation. So there the role changes. The role changes. There you have to then convince your client why a settlement would be in his favor or why he should settle the matter. You know, the process of mediation is twofold. One is, you know, one is when we say facilitating, it is you are a facilitator. You only bring the parties together. You must have heard you being taken through this process by earlier speakers. The mediator is a facilitator. There is a second type of mediation, which is evaluation based. One is facilitation, the other is evaluation based, where you have to evaluate various accounting or honored. Next,
So your voice is not audible like this. Is everyone being able to hear it?
I think somehow the people have.
It's clear now, sir.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Now I think it's fixed.
I am not so sure. I am not getting everybody on the. My screen has changed completely.
It's clear,
So
sir.
can I carry on?
Sure, sir. Sure. Yes, sir. Carry on.
Okay. So lawyers can have good income from mediation. That is also to be told, because it is not as if it is only going to be or continue. I think already in the High Court lawyers are getting a decent amount. In Supreme Court also we are considering it will be possible. Then it is important that a lawyer can play both the roles. He can be a advocate in a client's case and represent him in a mediation, and he can become a mediator also. So see how your professional skills are growing. That is very important. Now I must also bring in here that many senior advocates I know, they have left the profession and become only mediators. Many judges after retirement have become mediators. Justice Kurian Joseph, great example, mediators. And many judges, I am told, I yet to know the names, some of them have taken premature retirements to do mediation, because it is something which comes out of their heart. As Justice Joseph always says, we always get more satisfaction out of resolving a dispute where relationships are maintained. Next, very important, legal profession, please note this, legal profession main and true purpose. What is the main true purpose of the legal profession? Is to resolve conflicts. Very important. What are we doing after all? Suppose you are not, okay, I don't agree with mediation. What do you do in the court? You are trying to resolve a conflict. So if that conflict can be resolved by imagination, by satisfaction of the parties, satisfaction of, to the parties, maintaining their relationship, what more satisfaction? I know there are many quotes of Mahatma Gandhi. He said, I felt much better after I resolved a dispute by mediation, by sitting as a mediator. So therefore, you are in a way taking your profession ahead. Then a client who benefit from mediation gives you immense satisfaction. That I have already said. Then in the court, it is not, please note this is very important. In the court, in many cases, it is not possible that the entire facets of a dispute can be put on the table. There may be personal reasons, there may be business reasons, but confidentiality of mediation preserves that market. Very important. So therefore, it is much more, it is something which should be explored much more before you go to the court, because there are many things we hide, and there are reasons for it. I mean, it is not as if we can spell out and put everything in the public domain. So this is a very important facet of mediation also. Then next, one more very important, the image of profession. I have to lay stress on this. The image of the profession has grown after we started mediation and resolving disputes between parties. Parties go home satisfied. They are very happy that they have encountered a system of resolving their dispute by a method which was advised to them by a lawyer, supported by the court, and they are back home with whatever they feel is the best resolution in the dispute. I'll say one or two things more before, of course, I get into the. I'll get into a few more points, tips later on. But the most important one is, if the lawyers don't take up mediation, not this is very important. Somebody else will. If the lawyers don't take up mediation, then some other people will take it up. and you are affected professionally, 100%. So therefore, you must fill up that vacuum, and it is very close to you. Now, lastly, I have to say, the mediation does not dilute the adversarial process. It does not. Process is only workable. It is made more workable. It doesn't dilute the adversarial process. And then, lastly, it is possible to have both consensual and adversarial solutions to a dispute at the same time. You know, there are some cases where some issues can be solved by mediation, by consensual process, but some may not be able. So we can have both. Now, I have said all about the tips that I had in my mind to give to the young, enthusiastic lawyers, budding lawyers, members of this bar association. But I must also lay a little stress on one or two more things. One is how to choose a mediator, and choosing mediation. On choosing mediation, I have already said it is for the advocate to analyze the case, because you know how you study your cases and then think that it is possible that there can be a settlement. But it is an art even to select a mediator. Who will be a mediator? Who can give you that much time? Who will be acceptable to both the parties? Whose credentials are so good? He is a trustworthy person. He is a person in whom the parties will have a belief. Parties, when they go for mediation, place asking and finding out what are the credentials of this mediator. And let me tell you, as a lawyer, many lawyers in my country and elsewhere have made and amassed wealth by taking huge fees, but many of them don't have that kind of credibility. So in your profession, from day one, you must try and be a person who is credit worthy, who is a person whom people will believe in, because I mean there are these virtues you don't have to find in a book, but by going to the court or bar association every day, everybody knows. And it is a misnomer that people think what I do nobody knows. Everybody knows everything. But it's not a matter of everybody knowing. It is your own thinking. Truthfulness, morality, sticking to principles. These are the things which you should find in a mediator. And then next, very important, you must have laid down a kind of a method for yourself when you prepare for a mediation session. Very important. You know, I'll tell you something which is so simple, like going somewhere in time, reaching and being on time for a mediation or for a session of mediation. Now, all things combined, I'm not speaking on those topics, but who will be attending the session? Do they have the authority? I already informed you. Should the lawyer be present himself, or the party should be? Now, all these preparations you have to do. So this involves a little more study than you just read a case and go and argue in the court. Mediation you get the satisfaction. The next thing I want to say is there is, you know, we have this you must have, I think it either may have been pointed out or not. We have these 2 or 3 in mediation, we have 2 or 3 systems. One is famously called BATNA. BATNA is BATNA, and it means best alternative settlement, best alternative to the settlement. Then there is WATNA, WATNA. WATNA is worst alternative to the settlement. And then we have a combination of both, and that is most likely alternative settlement. Prepare the documents well, bring out everything to convince the mediator. Now, appearing in mediation is something also which we have to prepare for. As I said, arrive on time, then patience and listening skills. It is not adversarial. I have seen, and you must all experience in the courts, the moment the party on the other side says something which is incorrect or factually wrong, we jump up and say, this is wrong, this is not correct. Or the courts sometimes tell us, do it on your own term. But I think it's a very big part of our process of adversarial adjudication. There we always have little patience, especially in appellate courts. In Supreme Court, in 136 admission matters, you get only a minute or two. So you have to be prepared that well, but at the same time, you have very little time, and therefore your patience is also connected with that. But here, listening is a very big skill. Patience. One important thing which I'll mention just before I close, body language. Body language is in itself an art. They tell me that when a party is lying, they can make out. Because there is a certain movement of the body, certain gestures, which they have studied psychologically. And they know he is not meaning what he's saying. So it is very important that body language should also be something that the lawyers must pay attention to. Then, in a mediation, apart from advocating the case of and come out clearly that you are not blind to the merits of the case. It's very important that you are not blind to the merits of the case. That is how your acceptability will increase. Then drafting an agreement is a very big art. How do you draft an agreement? I don't know whether this is a right time for that, but we can have a different session on that. So those are my comments with regard to the importance of mediation and today's topic, the role of lawyers in mediation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for comprehensively educating us on the topic. Now we will start the Q&A round where the participants can raise their questions to the learned eminent speaker. First question is from Pavanjot Kaur. Please unmute yourself, Pavanjot.
I think you may take the question. She's not.
Okay, the question is, in a dispute arising out of an agreement, whether civil or criminal, can we press for mediation taking into account the Section 28 of Indian Contract Act?
That's exactly what I said. It is a very it's the blind corner. Even today, when we talk of alternate dispute resolution, I already informed you that Section 28 still talks only of the alternate. It is an exception. Arbitration is only an exception. And Section 28 says it must be decided according to the norms, the legal norms which have been set forth by the courts. So I think it requires an amendment. It will have to be amended, and the agreement between the parties, of course, it will be treated till it is done by legislation in the form of accepting it as a consent decree.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Section 28 exists. What can we do? It is there.
Second question is of Marisport A. How Marisport?
Marisport, please unmute yourself and ask.
Hello. Good morning, sir. Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, of course.
Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sir, I thank for a wonderful discourse, sir. And actually, I would like to know, as you highlighted, Indian Contract Act doesn't allow any settlement which is against the existing provisions of rather remedies given under Contract Act.
Correct.
If that is the case, how parties can generate different kind of options, especially out of the box options, which is not available in the legal periphery?
See, I already told you section 89 now is there in the CPC. That is where the
Yes,
court
yes.
can.